to the Celtic Craft Studio. I'm Terry, and we have an extra video this week. There have been some requests that I show some of the ephemera that I do, so we're going to work on an ephemera. And the one that I picked has a little story to it. When I started my Etsy shop in 2018, I started making items and I started a Pinterest page. No one ever looked at my Pinterest page. I should say no one ever, because every now and then someone would look at it. But it didn't get a lot of attention until this last year. And there's one piece of ephemera that people keep liking. They like, they save, and this is the one. Let's see if I can get you to see it without too much glare. It was called Card Play. And unfortunately, this little card made its way to somebody else's home. So I actually went ahead and made one that was similar. I didn't have the same picture, but I found a different little girl that's kind of cute. She reminds me of my granddaughter Tessa. I think she looks a lot like her. And it's cute, so I put, but it's the same idea. I still used the polka dots. I used the flowered tape. I used a little saying, "The journey is the destination." I thought that was a good one. And then I decorated it. And it's just a plain card. There's nothing on the back. It's just a card, okay? But like most things that I make, they kind of develop over time. So then I made this one. This one, the pocket's a little different. The picture's a little different. It's a little more embellished with other things. And then on the back, we have another pocket where we have things that we slide in. So this one, you attach to a journal with maybe a clip, a paper clip or a bulldog clip. So this one you can attach to your journal. This one you could actually glue in if you wanted to make a pocket or a side tuck, something like that. So we're going to, based on this and the interest on Pinterest, we're going to make playing cards. And I think we're going to make the one with the pocket in the back. So let me show you, for everything that I make, I try to make templates so that I don't have to wonder, well, how did I do that? So here's my template, and I would suggest that you make templates and kind of keep them so that you know what you did and how you did it, okay? So this is the pocket for the back. For the loaded playing card is what I'm calling it, I guess, okay? And let's see, the pocket for the back, just a standard playing card. You could use, I mean, there's lots of different playing cards. You could use any kind of playing card. The pocket is 3.5 long and about 1.5 deep. All right, and that can vary, you know, if you want it smaller, you want it bigger. I use all scraps, so whatever scraps you have that would make a great pocket would be good. Then on the front, we have a pocket that is 2.5 by 2 3/4. And then this little piece over here is about 1 inch. And once again, you can play around with the different shapes. I took this shape, but I found that because of the pictures that I put in it, I cut the tip off. So that you'll see this pocket doesn't have a tip there. Okay, makes sense? So those are the template pieces for the card. Now let's go ahead and put some together. Once again, I have them in varying stages so that we can kind of cover a lot of territory in hopefully just 30 minutes, but we will see. I've found that it can be a challenge to stay within 30 minutes. So I'm going to start from scratch, And what I have is a selection of items. I went through my scrap drawer and found some scrap that I thought would be good for the front pocket, the back pocket. And then I found some things that I thought would be good to put in the pockets. So I think we have everything we need. And then, of course, the picture. All right, so this is the picture I chose. And she's going to go here. Now, this little girl, I did not glue in, which is fine. It's up to you whether you want to glue the picture in or if you want to just slide her in so you can take her in and out. I'm going to go ahead and glue this. I'm going to trim it down as usual because I think there's a little too much white on it. So let me take some of the white off. And I'm sorry, I'm using pictures, so it's probably causing a terrible glare. Also, I apologize. I noticed in watching a couple of my videos that when I put my scissors back in my cup, it makes a terrible noise. So I have decided I won't be doing that again. All right, so let's go ahead and ink. Let's see if I have any ink left on here. I do. Okay. I can usually get a few turns, and then I always do this middle piece. Don't forget the middle piece because it's usually pretty white. And I don't know if you'll see it or not, but just in case. So let's go ahead and glue our picture down. Now, when you're deciding on your papers, you might have a certain color wave that you need to use for your journal that you want to put these in, or maybe you don't care and you can just take any scrap you want. For instance, I have some that I'll show you that I used the scraps from my postal journal. So it's a lot of red, white, and blue. This card, I decided, I found a piece of purple scrap paper that I just love. It's from a Tim Holtz paper set, and I apologize because I can't remember the name of the set, excuse me. I can't glue and talk at the same time, obviously. All right, so let's cut that off. It's hanging over. All right, you're not going to see him anyways. He's going to get covered up by the pocket. And I suppose if you wanted to save a picture, you could certainly cut her off. But I do that because I actually sew, and it just helps to make it all even along there. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But I found this piece of scrap paper, and I thought, ooh, wouldn't that make a great? And I like the writing on it, I like the font, I like the colors. So I thought, oh, that would just be nice. So what I did is I put the card on here where I wanted it to be. And then I took a pencil and I went down either side to mark it. Okay, and that's where I'm going to cut it. Okay. So now can I see this? I did that awfully light, didn't I? Yes, I did. So let's just redo it because it's so light I'm having trouble seeing it. So let's darken it up a little so I can see where I need to cut. Oh yeah. Okay, that works. Okay, so I have basically what I want, and then I'm going to take one of my templates because it is a little long and I need to decide what part of it I really want. So I'm going to go ahead and take a template off of one of my others over here. And put it down and see what I've got. Okay, maybe I'll bring it up because I want some of that. You have to kind of decide what you want to lose. I'm sure you're used to that when you're working on a journal. Sometimes it doesn't. It's not an exact science. So you have to figure out what you want to take off. Excuse my arm if it's in the way. All right, so let's cut this. I'm just going to trim that a little. Then we have a line off of here. And I don't think I'm keeping any of these scraps. They're just too small. You have to know where to draw the line. Otherwise, my room would be taken over with scraps. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. All right, so let's go ahead and glue after we ink, because there are, you know, when you cut, you do get this white edging, which I like to just get rid of. I don't need to, I personally, some people like a lot of grunge. I personally just want to get rid of the white. I don't want to make a lot of this in here too brown, too dark, okay? So I just get that white edge. All right, put a little glue. And I just glue the two sides. I don't glue that little part. And it really doesn't make a difference. You're going to see why. I sew around these. You do not have to sew. And you might want to glue that down if you're not going to sew. Okay, I'm going to bring that down so I'm not blocking her chin there. Actually, I don't want to, so maybe we'll just take a little more off up here. Yeah. All right. I'm happier with that. That's why I started cutting the tips off, because a lot of times the tips covered their faces. So I don't want that. Okay, so there's that one. Now on the back, you can either color coordinate, or maybe you want to color coordinate with a card. These cards are not my favorites, but I think I got them at the Goodwill for 50 cents or something. So I thought, well, how can you pass up that deal? It's many cards that I go through. So when I do the back, I just try to find something that doesn't clash too much. Although you will be covering it, so it doesn't make too much difference. So here, I'm not going to sit here and measure. I've got my template if I need it, but I'll just do that. All right. And let's see if it, no, I think I am going to have it on this side. Okay, and I need my little punch because I'm going to make a thumb hole. Oh, will you look at that? It's a Colorado license plate. Couldn't have planned that better. I love those. Tell me if you do. I mean, I love the little accidents that happen when you're making things. I don't know, maybe they don't happen to you, but they happen to me, and they happen to me a lot. All right. Get this. Put the pocket on. put it on. Now, you'll notice I have straight corners, straight edges. The corner of the card is rounded. So I'll leave that up to you. You can round or not round. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Just depends on how it looks. This one needs a little trimming though, I can see that. Okay. And then I'm going to ink again because you got that white card in there. So I'm just going to kind of go around the card again. Okay. So there we have a pocket on the back, and we have a pocket on the front. Okay. Now at this point, I usually sew. Okay. Here I sewed these with a neutral. Some of these I'm going to show you how I decorate. I used a navy blue because of the blue and red theme. And once again, you can sew or not sew. I think sewing really makes things a little more interesting looking. Okay. So I happen to sew around these. I think playing cards are kind of the perfect thing to sew around because they're heavier, so it works better. Sometimes when you sew on paper, it's, you know, you got to be careful because if it's too thin, then you may have issues. All right. So at this point, I would sew. So we're going to pretend I have taken it over to my machine, which is over here, and I've sewn it. And maybe one day I'll make you go back and forth and show you my machine and the sewing that I do. I used to, when I first started, I sewed a lot of things. Now I've kind of learned what I like to sew and what I don't like to sew. So let's go ahead and decide what we're going to put in here. And on the back, I think I'm going to start on the back. And usually I like to put a picture. And this is the only picture I see that's on my purple strip. They're cute, but I also have some photos kind of lined up that I can use. I use these photos for a lot of things. The larger ones come in a strip like that. The smaller ones, this is only 2, but it usually comes in 3. And I like to use the whole pieces for other projects, so I try not to cut them apart unless I absolutely don't have any other choices. But I had several choices, and I see her for one. I kind of like her. And I would put her toward the middle so that you could see her face. If you put her over here, you're not going to be able to see her face, and you don't want it to stick over, okay? So I think I'm going to put her in the middle. I am going to leave the edges on too because I don't want her any smaller than that. So let's go ahead and ink her and ink the back because they are going to take these out. You can journal on them or not, okay? But they will take them out probably, so I am going to do that on both sides. All right, so let's put her in the middle, which means I think I'm going to put a couple of things on either side of her. Let's see, this is probably too tall, so I'm probably going to have to cut that down a little. Yep, but I like the flower, so I'm going to take the map. I think I'm going to cut the map down. Okay. And I'm going to ink it. And then decide, do I want it in front of her or behind her? I think I want it behind her. Because once again, I don't want it to cover her face. Let's see if we can get this to go down. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, and let me ink that. It's a little white. And then what shall I put on the other side? I do have this piece. kind of sitting around. We got some stamps. Oh, I like that. Oh, maybe I'll do that. Like I say, these collage strips, I love them. I pray they never get rid of them because I use them all the time. They make, even if you use them as a whole on different projects, they also make perfect ephemera because you can cut them apart. And so I get the big ones and I get the little ones. I have the little ones around. That's a little one right there. And there's a big one. So I like to, and do I want that? No, I think I just, sorry. I'm thinking while I'm, and there's something stuck here that's causing a problem. So let's take that off. It's part of a picture. All right, so let's try this again. I like that flower right there. So let's ink. Am I in the shot? I'm doing my best, guys, doing my best. And I think I'm gonna make sure that that word, let's scoot her over as far as we can. And then put, do I want the word calendar up? Or do I want the flower up? I think I want the flower up. Decisions, decisions. But all this stuff makes a difference to me. I don't know if it makes a difference to anybody else, but it makes a difference to me. All right, so she's gonna have to go in front. There's no two ways about it. But let's scoot her over as far as we can so we kind of see that sticking out there. Okay, so there we go with that one. Now there's a lot of room for embellishment down here. You could put a butterfly, you could put some labels. Once again, you could use something off of here. You already have a bunch of numbers, so I probably wouldn't add numbers. I would probably add something else. I'd probably play around with something that I had over here and avoid the numbers. So I'll have to think about that. And then over here, I got it sticking out a little. Let's get that in because I don't want to see that. Okay. And I'm going to ink so that we don't see any obvious white strips. Okay, so then we need, I usually put a couple things in here too. So let's, I've already cut stuff off of here. So maybe I will, I like that one. I like this, and I want to keep the saying, I think. And I think I'm going to keep that. All right, so let's ink this. See, I haven't even gone back to my pad, and I still have ink on here. Now, if your ink pad is drying out, it may not last long. All right, we glued that down, so we may have to cut this down. Maybe we're going to take the words off after all. Yeah. Yep, I think so. You're probably saying, no, don't. And I'm going to keep those words. Let's not get rid of those. So they go in my little scrap bin that I keep to the side here. You never know when you might use that. It's still too big. So let's, question is, do I want to cut it off the bottom or do I want to cut it off the side? Gonna get my chopper. I'm gonna take a little bit off the side and kind of go to the bow over here. And I think it needs a little more inking. Don't forget to ink the back, because I think I forgot to ink the others that I put, but we can go back and do that. All right, and then I'm going to kind of put her to the side. Oh yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm going to do that, and then maybe have a taller piece. Do I have some of that. I was going to say, do I have a taller piece around here? I do. I think it's too tall. Oh, definitely too tall. So let's take this off. Once again, keep those little things. You'll be surprised what you can use them in. Ink around, ink on the back. Okay. And I'm going to put that in over here. And then put this on the top like that. And then, to hold this in place and just give a little more interest, I'm going to use one of my favorite things to use, one of these teeny tiny little clips. And I did not struggle with that today. That's good. All right, so let me show you what I did with these. Fast forward so that we get as close to the 30 minutes as we can. 27, we're probably going over, but all right, so we've got these that I did with all my scraps from the postal. So if you have another red and blue, in fact, the journal that we're working on, the from beginning to end journal that we're on now is red and blue. So who knows, maybe these will go in here. But these have all been sewn. There's a picture, there's pockets on the back. I went ahead and decorated the pockets on the back because it was pretty plain. And then I put her back here with a ticket, actually a couple of tickets. So let's scooch her over and put the tickets in there like that. Okay. And then on the front, I did this. Actually, I think I'll have it going the other way. And that. Okay. I know I'm hiding her face, but that's okay. She'll be a surprise. And we got our clip. Okay, and I did not decorate the front pocket, and I think you can see why. Because I cut the pocket in such a way that you could see the airplane. So I left that front pocket just the way it was. This one, we've got her. I kind of like to tell, like Tim says, I like to tell a story. I don't know, I have fun doing that. I don't know if anybody else appreciates it, but so here I found this young girl. Who knows where she's from? You can, maybe she's from Paris and he's from England. And they've fallen in love. And they're corresponding. Shall we say that? So here I have a London Bridge. I love the London Bridge card and I like to use it wherever I can. So there's the London Bridge card and the young fella. Okay. And then, do you see the in color print? And there she is in color. And I have Paris right there. Okay. Do you see my little story? Do you make up little stories? Okay. And once again, you can embellish this, but I wanted to leave the map so that you could see the map and not cover the map all up. Okay. Now we have her. And on this one, shall we say these are her children? Or maybe these were her distant relatives. Once again, they're going to be hiding. So I'm going to put somebody's face in that thumb. In the thumb hole. And then I'm going to put the flowers over here. You have to trim the flowers because the flowers don't quite fit. Sometimes when you stitch, it takes up. So let's trim that off because I don't want it hanging out. You can have them hanging out if you want, but I don't want them hanging out. All right, and put these cuties in there. Okay. Then on the front, I did decorate the pocket. Once again, I thought it was a little plain. So I went ahead and put one of these number strips on it that I have. But you'll notice there's a staple in it. And I do not staple through the card. So there is not a staple there. Okay. There's a staple on the front. So what I did was I stapled the label and then glued it on. Okay. So it's interesting without hindering your pocket. All right. And this one, I used the puppy. And this nifty little thing that had a stamp on it. All right, and once again, we're going to put our clip on. Now, I used, so we'll borrow and get another one. All right, so this one, last but not least, maybe this is her parents. What do you think? Okay, and we're going to scooch them over so she's the one showing, I think. And then we have this card here that we're going to stick right behind them. And I have that and the stamps. We'll go right behind it. Okay. Clip it down. All right, so there you have it. The one we made from scratch. I still need to go back. Obviously, I'm going to take all the cards out and then sew. What else? I don't know if I'll make it darker or lighter. It kind of depends on what it's going to go in. So you might want to leave your cards until you know where it's going to go before you sew it. So you can do a neutral thread bleh, or a darker thread. All right, so there you have it. We've done our playing cards. So you have one more piece of ephemera in your arsenal that you can make. These are so fun, and you do not have to use Tim Holtz papers. I do, and I just happen to have a lot of Tim Holtz scraps. But you can use any kind of scrap paper you have. The photos, once again, you don't have to use Tim Holtz photos. You can find shops on Etsy that sell photos. So, go on and find some. Or get some Tim Holtz photos because they are fun. He has some pretty fun photos. I find people that are so amusing that I have to use them in something. And this newest batch, I really like. All right, I'm going to leave you there. I've gone 4 minutes over, but that's okay. I've enjoyed the time I've spent with you. I am so grateful for those who are watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and tell your friends to come check out the Celtic Craft Studio. I would be grateful. And if you decide to make these playing cards or the journals any of the things that we've been making so far, please post them on my Celtic Craft Studio, the Celtic Craft Studio on Facebook. I'd love to see what you're making. That would be wonderful to see you guys doing some of this stuff on your own. Once again, thank you. I'll see you later. Stay crafty.